Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Laila Abed, a Rotary Peace Fellow from Palestine, and I'm wearing the Palestinian traditional dress, in case you wonder. Today, I'm going to take you through a short journey to the digital world. But before we start, I would like to ask you, please raise your hand if you use any social media platform. Thank you. As I see, most of you are users of social media. So I'm happy to tell you, you are in the right place, and this presentation for you. Social media is promoted to us as tools and platforms that help people connect and communicate. But the question, does social media bring the promised connectivity? Unfortunately, not always. Today, I'm going to show you how social media used to create divide, exclusion, racism, and even violence against minorities. We will see how social media contributed to anti-refugee sentiment. Where is this happening? And most importantly, what can we do? So let's dive in. Social media acts as conduits for misinformation, hate speech, and exclusionary rhetoric. It allows rapid dissemination of fabricated stories, manipulated images, and hostile language. Lack of effective oversight and content moderation allows harmful content to reproduce unchecked. Freedom of speech is used to defend hate speech. This created a situation where racist sentiments are magnified, discriminatory attitudes are normalized, and online communities reinforce negative discourse. Algorithmic amplification further exacerbates the problem, creating echo chambers where anti-refugee sentiment thrives. Where is this happening? Everywhere, even within the most democratic countries. It happened in Europe during the refugees crisis, which involved large number of asylum seekers coming from countries like Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. Social media amplified exclusionary views by spreading misinformation, dehumanizing refugees, and facilitating anti-refugee rhetoric, particularly from radical right and populist groups, which fueled fear and normalized anti-refugee policies. It happened also in New Zealand. The 2019 Christchurch mosque shootings carried out by a white supremacist and resulted in killing 51 and injuring 40 Muslims. It was live streamed on social media, particularly Facebook, which amplified hate speech and violent content. Not only that, Facebook's algorithms found to be suggesting searches for terms related to the shootings when users typed in Christchurch or New Zealand. It contributed to the spread of the attack video despite efforts to remove the content. It happened also in Myanmar in 2017, when the Rohingya crisis intensified, with over 700,000 fleeing to Bangladesh due to a military crackdown. Social media, and again, Facebook, disseminated anti-refugee, anti-Rohingya hate speech, misinformation, and incited violence. What can we do? Different countries use different approaches to mitigate anti-refugee sentiment. In the United States, people believe in the power of words. USA, for UNHCR, used a storytelling approach by launching Refugee Voices campaign, a collection of stories that highlight the journeys refugees are forced to take to find safety. One interesting story is about a Rohingya girl from Myanmar. She was lucky enough to leave the refugee camps and come to the United States, where she started her journey advocating for her people. If you are interested in her story or others, visit their website, look at the map, pick your state, and search for your neighbor refugees. Read their stories and discover inspiring refugees in your community. In New Zealand, a young artist used art to connect people. Robbie Jones posted her artwork after the shooting in 2019, depicting two women embracing. One, a Muslim wearing a hijab, with the message, "This is your home and you should have been safe here." The original drawing was left by mourners at the memorials. It was printed on posters all around New Zealand. It has been shared widely on social media, printed out and taken to mosques, and even redrawn and replicated as a symbol of compassion. The artist has been commissioned by Time magazine to illustrate the cover of its international April 1st edition. In France, to enhance social cohesion, community used a different approach, bringing citizens and refugees together around a positive cultural experience. The NGO Food Sweet Food and UNHCR launched Refugee Food Festival in 2016 with the support of many citizens, local authorities, restaurants, and businesses as part of the World Refugee Day celebrations. Restaurants opened their kitchens for refugee chefs from different countries: Ukraine, Eritrea, India, Iran, and many others. Chefs have the chance to show their cooking talents and to promote their food traditions, while citizens discover a new culture through its cuisine. In 1 year, this initiative has expanded to 13 major European cities: Paris, Brussels, Madrid, Amsterdam, Rome, Florence, Milan, and others. Up to date, it expanded to 24 cities. This campaign has been shared widely on social media, announcing events, sharing videos, images, and news about Refugee Food Festival. These are the different approaches used by different countries. But what about you? Besides learning about refugees' journeys, stories, and their contribution to the community, you have one more thing to do. As users of social media, every one of us has a responsibility to make social media a safe space for everyone in order to make our world more peaceful. So I kindly ask you, please don't like, don't follow, don't share or subscribe to any content on social media until you ask yourself the Rotary four-way test. And let's say it together. Is it? Is it? Will it be? Will it be? Thank you.
That was great. It's a pleasure to be with you here this morning and to start off such a powerful and important presentation to start this day.
Thank you.
When I think about the complexity of what you're talking about, I looked up some research, just a little research, and the Pew Research Center said that just over half of the US adults in this country get some form of news from social media, and at least 25% say they often is their news source. And those that do, a third of the US Americans say that it's comes from Facebook and YouTube. That might not be a lot of people in this audience, but it certainly is a lot of people in this country. And then smaller shares get it from other sources. You talked about algorithms and how they feed news to you as depending on what you've already looked at or inquired about, and that this can create an echo chamber.
Yeah.
So you're only getting the same thing again and again, and you're not getting alternatives, viewpoints. It seems to me that government, these social media platforms, and civil society all have a role here, or should have a role here. What do you think that role is in the responsibility that they each can play? And do you have examples of where that is being done?
Thank you for your question. Actually, it's a very important question because, you know, as I explained in the presentation, that now we depend on social media as part of our life. So we have to be careful and responsible and accountable. So each party of the three that you mentioned have a role. For example, if we start with the tech companies, there is a big responsibility on the tech companies. These tech companies should be responsible and accountable for their platforms. First of all, they can develop policies which distinguish between what is considered legitimate discussions and debates and which is considered hate speech. Also, they can share anonymized data from their platforms. So for researcher, for civil society organization, to do like researches on the patterns related to anti-refugee sentiment, so we can be more informed about the topic and how to deal with it. Additionally, tech companies can be more accountable by reviewing their recommendation systems. So when you go to Facebook, for example, or any other platform and search something, sometimes you will find that Facebook actually is promoting something not positive. So these tech companies should be more accountable and review these algorithms and their recommendation systems. Also, I think that for these tech companies, they can cooperate with other parties as we will mention later. For the government, we see that usually government participate in regulations, developing legal frameworks. So their role is to hold social media platforms and tech companies accountable and transparent for their platforms to not cause harm to the society. Also, they have a responsibility to educate people, raise their awareness about how these sentiments can affect social cohesion in the communities. Additionally, they can contribute in integrating refugees and creating experiences between refugees and host communities and regular citizens. In this case, citizens know more about refugees instead of just the information shared everywhere. Also, they can provide factual information or websites or sources of data so people can look for data about refugees in these credible websites. Additionally, for the civil society organizations, they can work as monitoring. They can monitor these. Yeah. Is it working
I think
now?
you said something social media didn't like.
Yep. So civil society can monitor and report hate speech and harmful content and hold these companies accountable. Also, they can monitor the policies that the government implementing and see if it works or not. Additionally, they can contribute with counter narrative, like the example of United States, where they promoted the positive cultural experience about and story about refugees. So this is more powerful, that efforts that organization can do. One thing that the three of these parties can do together, they can develop like a structure, permanent structure from these three parties, and even including refugees representative, so they can together assess the challenges they are facing and how they can deal with it. They can also develop ethical framework, so what is considered hate speech, what is considered freedom of speech. Also together, they can work like a crisis planning. So if there is like a viral hate speech or misinformation, how the three agencies together can contribute to mitigate this hate speech or misinformation. So they are together have responsibilities. And just I would like to add one last thing because it's just important. For tech companies, I read about an example before. Like the tech companies developed like a credit score for news pages or some pages on social media. So if these pages share false information or misinformation, the credibility score of these pages goes down. Thus, the users, when they deal with these pages, they know that this page is not incredible and there are information there might not be correct, which is a great example. Yeah, the example that you mentioned about great example in the world, I would like to share about the Australian example. So in Australia, there is e-safety commissioner. This is like a government agency which promote online safety. So they try to remove harmful content from internet in general and make media a safe internet, a safe space for everyone, and protecting all users, especially those in risk, like children or minorities, like refugees and other communities. So this organization, this agency work through three main pillars. The first one is prevention through raising awareness. They raise community awareness and they even raise users awareness, how to protect their safety, how to protect their information, how to deal with these social platforms and to protect their privacy. The other pillar, it's protection through removing harmful content from social media and protecting users at risk, cyberbullying, investigating these reports, investigating any report that they receive. Thirdly, they work like proactive. So they encourage tech companies to develop and enhance the social media platforms to be more safe for users. So mitigate harmful content even before it's created, before it's become on the social media.
Thank you. Thank you. We'd like to take some questions from the audience. We have one over here.
Good morning. Ralph Menzel, Rotary E-Club of Global Peace Builders, Northern Virginia. My question is, and I applaud the effort of trying to diminish the harmful effect of social media. Who are we to make the determination what is harmful? It's a give and take situation, even with a government agency. I think it's really difficult to ascertain what is harmful. So any ideas as to how you balance that for all of the issues out there? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Really, it's very important. And actually, it's a challenging, because here we're talking about hate speech, harmful content, and we talk about freedom of speech. In a lot of countries, when they use these laws for hate speech, actually they use it to prevent freedom of speech and eliminate freedom of speech. And there are a lot of examples from around the world. So we need here to understand something, that when we talk about harmful content and when we talk about freedom of speech, we need to understand the context. So where is this happening? It depends. Where is this happening? So what considered hate speech in one country might not consider hate speech in another. What considered freedom of speech here might not be freedom of speech in a different country. So we have to understand the context carefully. Also, my other recommendation is that intent matter. And it's very difficult to measure intent or to assess what is the intent behind the context. So the best way to do this is just do like collective effort, collecting parties from government, from representative from the society, parties from civil society. This mixture of people, they can together agree what we can define hate speech or harmful content. As we diversify this work, as we diversify the people who feed in the definition, would be more powerful. And thank you.
Happy to take a question if there's one online. And if yes, we do. Carol, would you like to tell us what that is?
It was actually a two-part question, so I'm going to try to make it a one-part question per Susan's instructions.
Susan has rules about this.
Yes, she does. So the question is, what can Rotary do to tackle the issue of weaponization of social media?
So what I would like to say here is what we can do, like everyone, how we can be more informed and responsible. So what I would like to recommend, first of all, is that everyone become more aware about what's going on social media or everywhere. So the first advice is just don't depend only on one source. It's very dangerous to keep your information from only one source, social media, or just in newspapers or radio or TV. There are many outlets and sources. Just diversify from where you get your information. Then, after you read this and get your input, Ask other peoples. Listen to their opinions. Ask what they think about these different topics. Listen. After that, use your critical thinking skills. What do you think about what you read, what you hear from other peoples? Does it make sense? Doesn't make sense? Whatever. And most importantly, don't get to a conclusion very quickly. Usually, when it's a challenging topic and complicated, there is no clear or quick conclusion to that topic usually. Keep it, sleep on it, think of it, and don't get this conclusion very quickly. So if every one of us use these skills and start thinking of these topics, when we come together, like for the Rotary, we would like to design an initiative, we would like to design a project, we have to think, how does this project will contribute to benefiting the society? Does it has like a component related to social media? Does it mitigate harmful content or not? And try to see how we can leverage this project by using the benefits of social media and mitigating the harm of social media. So as we see in the examples here, social media can be used as a harmful or as a powerful tool, and you decide how you want to use it.
And as you said, use the four-way test.
Exactly.
Another question from the audience. Right here.
Check.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
So just wanted to introduce myself real quick. I'm a Rotary Peace Fellow from University of Bradford. I graduated in 2019. So my question is, I know you're talking about social media and the hate speech and anti-refugee. I completely agree with you because I'm a refugee myself from Sudan. But my question is going to be a little bit harder, and I want you to be ready for it. Do you see a connection between countries where there's this anti-refugee sentiment and the policy of these countries where refugees are coming from? Is there a connection between countries where we've seen a rise of anti-refugees and the conflict that are happening that are causing these people to be refugees?
What I would like to say here is that, of course, there is like a connection. We have to understand that social media-driven anti-refugee sentiment is not just the only driver that affect anti-refugee sentiment. There are a lot of factors that affect it. Politics, one of them, culture, economy, and other factors. So if we just try to focus only on social media and how it can affect the sentiment, we're not having a comprehensive, full view of the conflict, of the topic. So what we need to understand the local context. We need to understand the nuance of each country. We have to pay attention to these factors. For example, I'll just mention one example. So my research, I'm doing this on Jordan, trying to explore how social media affected negative sentiment regarding refugees. So actually, Jordan is one of the countries that host refugees along decades. Third of the population in Jordan are refugees from Palestinians, Iraqi, and Syrians. Jordanians are among the most generous people and hospitable. They are called Nashama in Arabic. Nashama means the most generous and kind people. So they welcomed refugees along the years, and even they don't refer to them as refugees. They refer to them as guests, because this is in our culture. that this person is very, very welcome in your house. So in Jordan, what happened? By the time right now, there is like a fatigue. There is empathy fatigue. Why is this? Because Jordan is going through economic problems, poverty, high unemployment, and a lot of issues going on. What caused this? Was this the situation that they are living? So before we say, when I did my research, I collected Facebook's posts, analyzed them, and found that 50% of the posts actually are anti-refugee sentiment. They are negative against refugees. So what happened? Why is this? These posts are economic posts. So we have to understand the context and the history and actually what affect these countries or change their perspectives. So your question is actually a great example that you mentioned. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I am told one more short question. Carol, do you have a short question? Well, I agree. So we'll collectively decide if that was short enough, okay? Why don't you go ahead?
What was your motivation to pick this topic, anti-refugee sentiment? Why did you choose this as important to you?
Thank you so much. Actually, I have studied refugees history. I studied their stories. I read their stories. I dealt with refugees along years. So for me, when I see refugees, they leave their countries. They leave the place where they born and live their whole life. They leave their culture, their relatives, their beloved ones, their heritage, everything. And they come to a new place where they know nothing. They have to start from zero, building a life, learning about the systems, the culture, learning about rules, regulations. You can imagine that this is really a very hard thing to do. Just imagine that the community where these refugees are moving is not welcoming. Can imagine how hard will become integrating these refugees in the new community. And you understand that by the end, we are all human and we should be kind and human to each others. I see from example in Jordan that actually people were very generous and hospitable, but by the time there's like a shift in this attitude. So we need to understand what's going on. So if we understand the problem, we can contribute to solve it. And that's what we try to do in our research.
Thank you, Laila.